I'm Alexis, aka the Soft Reader, and I'm here today to show you guys the top 10 books that I am hoping to read in 2018. Quite a few of these are fairly big books, so it's going to be interesting to watch me try and read all of them, but I'm gonna make it work. I'm absolutely so excited for the reading year to start so I can put my effort into reading these, so I'll go ahead and show you guys what books they are. The first book is a very well-loved and popular book, and that is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I've said this many times, but I personally wanted to read the Shadow and Bone trilogy before I read Six of Crows. I'm very particular about reading books in publishing order, and so I would not let myself read this before I read Shadow and Bone trilogy. So I finally have done that, which means I can read Six of Crows, and I'm so excited. I remarkably have kept myself from being spoiled about this book. So I literally don't know anything about this book aside from the fact that it is about a heist and it follows 6 characters who have a team leader named Kazbrecker. That is literally all I know about this book. That is all I have wanted to know about this book, and I'm so excited that I finally get to read Six of Crows. The next book on my list is another very well-loved book, and that is We Are the Ants by Sean David Hutchinson. This follows our main character Henry, who is dealing with a lot of issues in his personal life. His boyfriend recently committed suicide, and he's also dealing with issues regarding his family. And basically, he is abducted by aliens on the regular, and aliens give him the option to push a button that can either destroy or save humanity. And so he is regularly tasked with deciding whether the human race should continue to go on. And after all of the events in his life recently, he is struggling with the fact that he might not want the world to continue. And all of that starts to change when he meets a boy named Diego, and they become friends and then ultimately something more. People absolutely love this book. I know a lot of queer reviewers who personally really love this book. I know that Sean David Hutchinson as an author put a lot of himself into this book, and I'm just so excited for such an emotionally charged story, and I cannot wait to read it. The next book on my list is actually a classic, and that is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I try to always pick a rather thick classic to read every year, and this is my pick for 2018. This is a very well-beloved book, and I know that it is an iconic book for both early feminist literature but also for the gothic genre. And yeah, I'm just really excited to finally read this. I haven't read anything by the Brontes, but this just sounds so interesting. This follows our main character Jane Eyre, who becomes a governess for the Rochester family, I believe, and it's about the relationship that she develops with Mr. Rochester. And yeah, I'm just really excited to get to this one. I think me and Melanie might buddy read this together, but I'm very excited to eventually pick it up, and I really hope I love it. I will be very sad if I don't love this book. The next book on my list is another book featuring LGBTQIA+ characters, and that is Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. This follows our main character Emmy, who is watching her brother's Los Angeles apartment for the summer, and she is an aspiring production designer looking to make it into the film industry. And this follows Emmy and her best friend Charlotte as they find a mysterious letter at an estate sale for a Hollywood film legend, and she decides to kind of track down what this letter means and also the mysteries of this icon's life. And there's a female romance in this, but people also say that if you really love film and you love film production, that this is a book you'll really enjoy. So pretty much this book has everything going for it, IMO, and the cover is one of my favorite covers ever, so I'm making it a priority to read this book and to actually start reading more by Nina LaCour. The next book I'm going to mention is perhaps the biggest and most intimidating book on this list, but it is a book that I am determined to finally read this year in 2018, and that is Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I have talked before about how the Starz adaptation of this book is one of my favorite television shows of all time. I absolutely love it. And so I've always been so interested in this story because of how much I love the adaptation of it. But this is an 800-page book, and the font is very small, and it's a dense historical fiction book about the building of this church in medieval England. And so it's a dense book. And so it's always been a little intimidating to me, but I'm so intrigued and I already know that I love this story, so I'm finally going to commit to reading this monster in 2018. The next book on my list is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson. Basically, for the last 3 years I've been reading one thick Brandon Sanderson book in the Mistborn trilogy, and it is finally time for me to pick up the final book in this trilogy. This series basically follows a group of people who are called allomancers, and basically they get supernatural powers when they ingest certain types of metals, and it follows our main character Ven as she gets basically sucked into a rebellion to overthrow the Lord Ruler who has been ruling this land for thousands of years. This is the final book in the original Mistborn trilogy, and I have to admit that I'm very, very interested to see what happens in this book after the cliffhanger of the second book, but I'm also like excited to finally have read this series. This is one of my brother's favorite series, and I'm intrigued to pick up the quartet that is a companion to this one. So yeah, I'm finally going to read this one. The next one I'm going to mention is The Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in her Farseer trilogy, and I believe this was the first book she published that takes place in this universe. Robin Hobb is one of those authors where like people are like very strict about which order you should read her books, and people suggest you should start with The Assassin's Apprentice. So, I have not read a single Robin Hobb book. I know that she is such an iconic name in fantasy, and I am going to make 2018 the year where I finally read a Robin Hobb book, and I'm obviously going to start with The Assassin's Apprentice. The next book I'm going to mention is a modern classic, and that is The Color Purple by Alice Walker. This is a modern classic I have been very, very interested in reading ever since I first heard about this book. I know that it is a very well-loved book and that it has a lot of commentary on society, and I just always wanted to read it, and so I'm gonna make 2018 the year where I finally decide to pick up The Color Purple. Number 9 on my list is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This is another series that is very, very well beloved, and I just have not gotten to it yet, but 2018, again, is the year where I'm gonna catch up, and I really do kind of want to push myself with this series because the like fourth book slash first book in a companion series just came out, and I think like book 2 is coming out at the end of 2018, so like there's more coming out in this series, and so I definitely want to make an effort to catch up on this series. And this has always just sounded like something I would naturally like, I just have never gotten around to picking it up, so I'm gonna pick it up. The final book on my list for books to read in 2018 is one I've had for a very long time. This is one of the oldest books on my TBR, and I am finally gonna read it, and that is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is basically the story of Patroclus and his relationship with Achilles and the events of the Trojan War as seen in the Iliad by Homer. And I just heard wonderful things about this book. People absolutely love this book. This is another book where it's always sounded like something I think I really would like. My friend actually got this for me as a gift because she was like, this sounds like something you'd like. And so like, it's baffling to me that I've had this book for as many years as I have and I haven't picked it up yet, because it sounds like something that I wholeheartedly would like, because I actually love stuff about the Trojan War. I love learning about the Trojan War, and so it's baffling to me that I haven't picked this book up yet. So 2018 will be the year that I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and hopefully I'll read this before her second book comes out, so then I can pick up Circe. I'm excited. Alrighty guys, so those were the top 10 books I am aiming to read in 2018. I'm really, really genuinely excited to pick up every single one of these books. Like, when I think about reading these books, I get really, really excited, and I think that that's a really good sign that I'll read all of the books on this list. I would absolutely love to know what books you guys are really aiming to pick up in 2018. If you like what I do, I upload videos on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I would absolutely love it if you guys subscribed, and I'll see you guys soon with another one. Bye!